Welcome to Classic Movie Banter. The podcast is beautiful, the hosts are less beautiful, but the banter is always beautiful.
Und ja!
Now dig on this.
Hey!
Hello!
Welcome to Classic Movie Banter. You know that podcast where me, that dude Brenton, and that other German dude over there, Nathan,
Und ja!
we talk about films that are 20 years or older.
20 years!
And we tell you whether those films are still worth watching today, or whether they're worth sending to pre-World War II Germany, to Hitler's, bomb shelter, and just putting them in there so when he commits suicide, they're also just kind of found in the room with him.
They're like, it's like that Hitler meme video, but where he's like shouting, but like instead they find DVD copies of Cabaret, and they're like,
Exactly.
What was Hitler thinking? Like, this is why he shot himself. Oh no.
So yeah, that was an interesting opening gag. But Nathan, the reason that we're bringing up Hitler and World War II is because this week we're doing another musical.
Oh, of course.
Why not? Why not? Episode
Brenton?
101.
After the highs and lows of Rocky V, why not just dive back into a musical?
Exactly.
101. You know what we should have done? It's episode 101. We should have done 101 Dalmatians.
Yeah, Nathan, that was actually a good idea. Nathan, that's a really good idea.
He
and
says
I can't
in the
believe.
middle of recording.
Oh no! I can't believe we didn't do that.
We've both seen it. Let's just change course and just talk about it. Cruella de Vil, what a villain.
Yeah, screw that. Can you pitch me 101 Dalmatians?
Great.
I want to.
Here we go. All right. Imagine dogs that breed a fuck ton.
Am I excited for the Emma Stone one? I don't know, dude. I don't know. Let me see a trailer and we'll see what happens. I think she'll be good.
You know what's great though? Glenn Close is producing it, so she's still involved. I like that.
Exactly. I like that too. I do like
Wouldn't
that
it be
as well.
great?
But Nathan,
It feels like a prequel, and like they did a flash forward, and it was like X-Men Days of Future Past, where you had like Glenn Close and then Emma Stone.
oh gosh, yeah. Why not? I could see that. Like young Cruella and old Cruella, and it's like her, like she has like flashbacks like during like 101 Dalmatians, and she's like, that reminds me of a time, and we flash back to see her like why she's got such a vendetta against Dalmatians.
That'd be amazing. And the way we tell them apart is that Emma Stone would have black on the left side, but Glenn Close would have white on the left side for their hair.
Yeah. Do you think that like there'd be like a segment like in Toy Story 2 where it's like she had like a Dalmatian or something, and it's like the whole "When She Loved Me" segment.
Randy Newman kicks in.
Yeah, and
It's just like When She Loved Me, exact carbon copy paste.
yeah, exactly. And like the dog, like, gets taken away or something, or she loses the dog, and then it's like she has this vendetta against fucking Dalmatians. And then at the end of the film, that same dog is somehow still alive, and like comes back and is like, it's a talking dog as well, and is like, Cruella, I know, I did wrong by you, babe, but I've always thought of you, and you've always been my best friend. And then they hug each other, and everyone's like, "What the fuck?" And then roll
what
credits.
they do is that they Game of Thrones it. They hug each other, and then out of nowhere, Cruella de Vil just brings out a knife as they're hugging, and she just like does the same thing that Jon did to Daenerys, just blade in the chest.
Yeah, you are my queen.
And the Dalmatian's like, Ollie, and then just like collapses.
Oh, Nathan.
But enough about the number of
But
the
enough
episode.
about 100 Mile Dalmatians, the movie we should have reviewed this episode. Today we're talking about Cabaret, which was released in 1972. It is an American musical drama film directed by Bob Fosse.
Ooh, Fosse. Oh, is that the same Fosse from Fosse Verdon?
That is Bob Fosse. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. I haven't seen the show, but I know the name. That's exciting.
There we go.
Wow.
So Nathan, now comes the next segment of the show, which is when you pitch me Cabaret.
Can you pitch me the movie? All right, step into my office, Brenton. It's 1972s. Nope. We're probably in like long jeans and got haircuts that are far too long. It's all long.
How do you know?
Whoa. All right. So Cabaret. This is okay.
Okay. Come on, Nathan. Take a moment.
World War
You're going to be all right.
It hasn't happened yet. We're in pre-World War II Bill, and it's 1931. And we're at a bloody cabaret club, Brenton. What a good time. Have you ever been to a real cabaret club?
No, I haven't been to Germany, so I can't
Well, guess what? This movie's practically going to take you there because we got we got burlesque dancers. We got Liza Minelli. She plays one of the lead singers in this burlesque cabaret club, and she's doing a thing. She's being promiscuous and all that. And then suddenly out of nowhere comes some random fucker from England who's like, "Hey, this is a good club, and I like Berlin." And she's like, "Hey, come live in my building." And so they establish this friendship, and she's like, "Let's just hang out in Berlin and just see what fuckery we can get up to." And then he's like, "Cool." And then maybe Nazis are in the background and they're all being like, "Ooh, we're rising in power." But then as they're rising in power, Liza Minnelli disperses their rise with songs about, life in Berlin. That's
cool.
That's the Cabaret Club, Brenton.
Is there any drama in this film? Is there, aside from the rise of Nazi Germany, is there any personal drama, or is there any drama on the ground level?
We're going to throw in a subplot, Brenton, because I love a good subplot.
Cool.
And the subplot's going to involve some random German bloke who's friends with Liza, who wants English lessons. And he's like, you know what? This Jewish chick in the 30s of Germany, she's rich. I'm going to have a crack at that.
Is that what he says? Und I'm going to have a crack at that.
Oh, he says far worse shit in the movie, let me tell you. Oh, hot stuff. And they bloody embark on a love, and maybe the love parallels the love of Liza Minnelli. Maybe one's successful, maybe one's not. I don't know. There's metaphors in this, Brenton. There's metaphors where the Cabaret Club illustrates, the naivete of the city of Berlin as the Nazis rise.
Is there like any metaphors towards anti-Semitism and all that fun stuff?
You know
I
what?
shouldn't. That's an awful sentence. I shouldn't say it, all that fun stuff.
Is there any
metaphors towards? Is there any blatant references to anti-Semitism in this film?
Not at the start, but oh boy, does it rise until maybe the Nazis gain much more prominence. You know what? Fuck the pitch. Let's finish the pitch because I want to talk about this.
Okay.
All right. We're in Cabaret.
I did ask you a lot of questions. Well done.
Okay.
Well done. Well done, Nathan. Good
I feel
pitch.
Cabaret is guilty of a lot of musicals where they just have some generic plot or whatever, but they set it in World War II or around World War II to make it more interesting. Have you seen this? Where it's like some I don't know, random love story that could be a rom-com if it could, but then they throw it in World War II and then suddenly it's gonna have themes.
I'm gonna test your theory. Can you name another musical that is set in World War II that is not The Sound of Music?
You know what? It's not exclusive to just musicals. I think it could go for all movies.
Okay, so it's more of a general statement on all
you know what I mean? Or we're in we're not just World War II, by the way. We're in any war, and it's the most generic kind of plot. It's let's love each other. It's let's I don't know teach a school English. I don't know. And then, but they're but we can't because the war or rising war. You know what I mean? And they think by putting this plot in a war, a war present era suddenly makes it more interesting.
I agree. Yes and no. I think the statement itself, I think it's there's a few films that are guilty of this, and there's stories that are definitely guilty of that. Because the backdrop is sometimes more interesting than the actual drama that's unfolding. I get that point. Do you think that is applicable to this?
At first I thought I did, but no, Brenton.
Okay, good. Okay, cool.
Eventually I'm like, no, this story had to be told at this particular time with this kind of thing. I'm like, no, they'll just sprinkle it in for the sake of it. I get it.
Sure. Yeah. Great.
Now, you have seen this movie before, haven't you, Brenton?
I saw it when I was very young.
Of course you did. Jesus, what were you, 6?
A lot of it didn't really sink in as to what was going on. I thought the film, when I first watched it, I thought it was very boring. It was very slow, and I thought this I knew the songs and whatnot, but I was never really taken by Cabaret. No
matter how many kidnapping attempts.
This isn't a kids movie. It's
God, no. Yeah. And yet we're continuing this trend of you watching these movies as a child. It's what are you doing?
I know. So yeah,
why the family decided to put Cabaret on for your household?
I don't know. I actually think someone else was watching it, and I just wandered in and sat down and plonked myself down and
you're oh, nuts.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, okay, I don't know what's going on here. But, I watched it and I was pretty bored, and, I didn't love it all that much. So it's been nice to return to it and see it with adult eyes.
Oh, you're very adult eyes, Brenton. Ooh, bat them
thank
away.
You.
You know what's really funny? So I've never seen this movie before, but I realized as I was watching this movie this week that I had seen the musical before.
Yes, you have.
And I completely forgot.
Yes, you have. You've seen the musical before. We saw that together, actually.
Wait,
In
what?
fact, I remember. We saw Cabaret in high school.
Was it QPAC? Or was it somewhere else?
No, it was at QPAC. It was the company, the Brisbane movement company, Zenz and Zo put on a production of it that was in the Playhouse at QPAC.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I've seen it twice then.
And we went on a school excursion, and you and I and a few other friends went to this Japanese restaurant.
Wait, was that? Did we see Cabaret that night?
Yeah, that was that
was
night.
Was that Cabaret?
Yeah, and we went to that restaurant and we ordered for the first time sushi off the iPad. And
that was very exciting.
Nathan had too much wasabi on his sushi, on his salmon. I think it was salmon nigiri or something, and it was like it made you wild. You went off the radar. Mate, that
was
that
a
night.
Good night. That was a very good night. I like to do this thing because I've got a high wasabi tolerance. Like I can eat like a fuck ton of it.
Yeah, and that's what you were trying to prove. But then you put a lot on, and you were like, that's
I may have reached my limit. And it's like
it was like in adolescence when you try to impress a lot of people.
Yeah, it's like when you got those friends who put like the hand through the candle, that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
But my thing was wasabi, and I'm like, oh yeah, I can impress my friends with this. Oh boy, it was not a good night for me then. That's no wonder I don't remember Cabaret. Like, fun fact: if you want to cure a cold, have wasabi. Clears the sinuses like nothing else.
Great, yeah. It does, that and salt water. Maybe both at the same time. Nathan.
We should be nurses. This is it.
Where was the other place you saw the live stage show?
That's so funny. So I would have seen it literally like 2 years after. Because QPAC had one on, where it was Trent took me, and like we went, it was like in a very small theater in QPAC, and it was just like a traditional kind of musical of it. And I forgot both of those, man. And then I saw this movie, I'm like, wait a minute, I know these songs. I've seen this before.
You're like, I know this. Hang on a second.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's got good songs, doesn't it? Like
it does. I've always sort of Cabaret as more of a play with songs. It's kind of like that My Fair Lady. It's kind of like it's but it works for it because obviously in the musical as a stage show when you're literally in a theater space and they can create a kind of cabaret club-esque environment.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. That's why it works so well live.
It does. It works well live. So Nathan, getting back to the film, do you think the film why did you bring that up, first of all? Because you said that you'd seen the stage show.
I really like what this musical does in the sense that when the musical numbers are introduced, they don't halt the story. And it's not about a character actually singing about, not even themselves. It's more about like them. It's more about we cut back to the Cabaret Club. We want to do it like 5 or 6 times. And it's set in the diegesis. We're in the world of the movie. It's not just like some of the characters burst into song. It only happens once that they actually do that. And like and it's a genuine performance designed to be a performance.
Yeah.
So it doesn't feel like it's interrupting anything.
That's it. And with the juxtaposition of what you're watching in the scenes and what you're watching in the story and then the character's personal life and how that reflects on what they're singing or whatever the song's saying on stage.
Exactly. And it so adds to the realism of it because you believe that these characters would burst into song because it's their job. Yeah. So I'm like, oh, this feels like the most natural integration of music that a musical could actually have.
Nathan, that was a very interesting. That's a very good reflection, I guess, to have on this film. But the question is, my question is, did you enjoy it?
I actually really like this, Brenton.
Yeah, you really you dug this movie? Cool.
Yeah. At first, I was rolling my eyes. I'm like, oh, here we fucking go. But like, you know what? Like, as the movie went on, I'm like, you know what? This is actually surprisingly excellent.
Yeah, I think for me, I'd say I'd agree with that. I don't know if it's surprisingly excellent because I think the stage show itself is really strong, and I think the film does a really good job of translating that to film in a medium that. Because I think this story just works so much better on stage. But I think this film does a great job of translating it to film and making the film itself work.
Yeah. It's one of those inherently theatrical stories, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So props to them for that. I think it really inspired other films as well, such as Chicago, such as like Moulin Rouge as well, I think.
I literally wrote as I was watching this, it feels like a better Moulin Rouge.
Yeah, I think it's a darker Moulin Rouge, for sure, even though, tuberculosis. Anyway, let's not get into that. Let's not get into the Moulin Rouge, because that's not older than 20 years. But I really like this movie. I think technically it's great. I like...
really well directed.
I think it's really well directed. I think for me, sometimes it wasn't as emotionally impactful, I think, as of other versions I've seen of this story in terms of just watching it on the stage show, because again, there's a point in there I think inherently it works better on the stage.
Oh, is that more for a spoiler moment, like when that is?
No, I think I can say a specific song, but I'll say about that in spoilers. But I think, just saying now, I think like specifically when you have those kind of theatrical moments of going from a scene and then transitioning that into the cabaret club and like the rawness of the scene that's just come before, in a live space and the actor's still standing there and going straight into a song is just really impactful.
Yeah, they got to drop that shit and just get into the performance.
Like, and this film has to sometimes cut back and forth during the song to like scenes to like to I guess add that emotional impact, which I think is there. I think if you hadn't seen the stage show, you'd still be affected by this story and you know, on a personal level and on obviously the huge kind of societal scale of what this message is, I guess. But yeah, I think this film does a great job. The only thing technically I'd say about it is because I think the editing's great. I think the performances are great. I think the direction's great, like you said. I think the only thing for me is sometimes I think the pacing's a bit off.
Yeah, it's very long. It feels very long.
It starts to feel long towards the end of it.
Yeah, I was baffled. I thought we were getting towards the third act, and I paused the movie, and I was only like just under halfway. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I'm like,
yeah.
Well, how is there more shit to do? Like,
Exactly.
oh.
And again, the nature of translating a stage show, like a 2.5 hour stage show, 3 hour stage show to a film is agonizing. I can only imagine how difficult that is, you know.
And to be honest with you, like despite that, I don't know what I'd take out of it. Like there was no part of the movie where I'm like, oh no, we're at this section again. I'm like, no, I was loving all of it.
Maybe it's an editing issue, maybe, but I don't know. But I agree. Yeah, I wouldn't take anything out of it necessarily. It's just there's a point that it starts to drag, and maybe that's as well because I've experienced before and I know what's coming. Who knows?
You've been dragged across the stage.
Yeah. So yeah, but overall, I think it's good.
What did you think of Liza?
I think
Cabaret
she's great
dancer?
in it. I think it's like the role she was born to perform. You know,
It really
Like, I
was. Yeah.
You know, like I think she's perfect in it. Like, you know, she doesn't really, she just sits so effortlessly in that role and can just like, she kind of is that character in a way, and I don't mean literally.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like she's acting that much. I feel like she's just being Liza Minnelli.
It's just subtlety is the winner of the day here, and it's just kind of it just really works, and we kind of get her essence, and that's the main thing as an audience member, and it really translates well.
Does she feel a little bit too flamboyant though at points? It's kind of weird that like I know she's a cabaret singer, but like the whole world is like normal-esque, and then she's like, ow, she's like flinging around the apartment, you know?
I think that's the point though of the character. Like I think we can talk about that more in spoilers, but I think that is the point of the character, and I think it's believable. You know,
it's just funny because I feel like all the other characters are just amused by her. She's just like doing her thing, and they're like, oh, Liza, like Sally Bowles, is that her name in the thing?
Yeah, Sally Bowles.
That's it. For once, I remember characters' names. It's like because I say it so many bloody times.
Yeah, and I think obviously this film was very critically acclaimed, and
got all the Oscars.
One didn't win them all, but because it came out the same year as The Godfather, but it won a hefty few.
Jeez, what a tough comp! Like you couldn't get more further apart in films than Cabaret and The Godfather.
But you think it still stands up?
Yeah, I'm happy to rate it.
You're fond of me lobster, ain't you?
Yeah, I think it does stand up. I think there's something you can get out of this. Like, it feels like a darker sound of music. You really did summate it quite well then. I think Thursday night I would put this on. And you know why? Because the songs are so good. I think that's such a telling tale. There was like 5 songs I recognized in this. I'm like, oh, because these are actually genuinely awesome.
Yeah, I'll give it a thumbs up as well.
Yeah.
I think it's great.
I think, again, I don't think this is first musical kind of level stuff. I think see a couple of musicals before this.
Yeah. I think this is a great one. I don't know, dude. Because I think this isn't as theatrical in terms of like obviously it works because it's in the backdrop of a cabaret club, so it's not as theatrical in the sense of like you're going to watch, I don't know, something like Moulin Rouge, for example, which is just so embedded in theatricality that it might be a bit overwhelming to some. Wouldn't you say, Nathan?
Oh, absolutely, Brenton. Oh no, but no, watch it with your friends. Have a bloody sing along. Have some friends over for cocktails and drink to this. I feel like this would be a good drinking movie. You know what I mean? Like,
oh, cocktail sounds good while watching this. That sounds fun.
If you can't afford a real cocktail club, just watch this. I don't want to be hit on by weird people. So,
mate, that's gonna be the quote of the episode.
There we go,
guys. Let's get into some spoilers, shall we?
You spoiled it.
What?
The movie.
Oh.
You know what, Brenton? This has a relevant storyline for like the modern day. Because you could really do a Me Too take on Liza Minelli.
You could.
Because she's like, I'll sleep with anyone to get to the top. And you're like, oh, this is interesting in 2020. like you could do something here with that.
Yeah, I think that character's... I really love that character. I think it's... You kind of mentioned it before that is she a bit too exuberant? Is she a bit too over the top compared to everyone else? And I think that's kind of the point. She's such a survivor. That character.
Yeah.
Like,
it's great because you never know her backstory as well. I feel like a weaker musical would like dive into like her long story about how she came to Berlin.
And you just don't need to.
No.
Like it's so powerful that like for me, like that's the story. Like obviously that's the character I think of the show and of this story, but it's because it's the main character. But I always appreciate this character and its storyline and kind of how it's told and the way it's told and the way it uses the songs and whatnot to really delve into the here and now and what she's going through. But she's such a survivor, isn't she? You're right in terms of the Me Too thing in terms of that, I think, is that she's kind of put her body on the line, she's put her whole life on the line, and she's just taking it day by day.
Actually, and you genuinely actively see her trying to achieve her goals.
Yeah,
like she doesn't just talk about being a movie star. Like she'll consistently like try and meet up with producers, chat about roles, all that kind of stuff.
Even when this like world is just like literally just like falling around her, and like everything she's kind of built up around herself is like collapsing, and like the ways are changing.
Love that.
Like, yeah, I do too. And then on top of that, you have like the personal relationships, you know, because there's always, she does have a way out the whole time. There's a way out of her situation the whole time, and
but she's like she is hell-bent on achieving that dream. She'll do anything.
Yeah, and I don't even know if it's necessarily the dream. I think it's very confronting for her to be vulnerable, you know, and to
which is so funny for a cabaret dancer, you know.
Yeah, but that's it. And I think the world's kind of built her up to like have a toughness that like never quite cracks during the storyline, and so it's a very sad story. Like it's
really fucking miserable.
It's really it's not you don't go into this looking for a good time. I know it's called Cabaret, and the poster's exuberant, and like, you know, the songs are exuberant, but at the core of it, it's about people that are just having a shitty time, basically. You know,
and you know what? The movie segues from that really well. I think it's one of the greatest strengths of it, especially where you see how the Nazis are treated at the start versus how they're treated at the end. And it's the perfect segue. Just how just by little that you see the public beginning to turn.
Yeah. And the obviously the Cabaret Club is like the best way to view the kind of the scope of the storyline and what's going in the patrons and the performances themselves as well. I think oh god, what the hell is that character's name? The Master of Ceremonies is kind of that court jester kind of character, you know, that commentator and the whole thing. And to watch, like,
it's Daniel Key reprising the role.
But honestly, like how the performances change as it goes on, and how the songs change as it goes on, and how it kind of, because at the start of the film, you know, we're very much against the Nazis, we're very much against anti-Semitism, but it kind of laxes as it goes on, and it starts to accept that kind of thinking and to kind of justify that kind of thinking. There's a song in there that really kind of is kind of confronting in a way, because it is kind of...
Which one?
I always forget the name of this song. It's called is it Two Ladies, I'm pretty sure, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Where they're running underneath the sheets and he's like, woo, I got two girls.
Yeah, like, is it that one?
There's a song after that where you literally see them march like Nazis in the song, where they're like, whoop, it's all rising.
Yeah, I think that's one's pretty obvious, but I think there's always this undermining at the start, and then it's kind of this acceptance towards it. And it's not necessarily acceptance of agreeing with the moral beliefs, but it's kind of, again, it's survival, you know? And it kind of shows the thinking of the time, of like, having to be like, you know, well, do I want to live? Do I want to like be able to, you know, live my life and support family, support myself, you know, live day by day if I don't kind of like change my ways to accept this rise of radical fucking thinking at the time? That's just, as we all know how that pans out, but you know.
Yeah, geez. It's like, you could do so much with it today. And that's the thing, like, I love how the songs inform the story. Like, my favorite song, of course, is Maybe This Time.
For me, that's like the song of the show. Again, like this version, I think Liza does a great job. She really acts it well. I like that it's the performance and whatnot, but I just think like that's the song for me that I'm always just like, I just think it works so much better on stage. Like, I always think like coming out of the scene it comes out of, and it's such a vulnerable moment for the character, and it's such like, that song is just such a like kind of a fuck you to like the system and the situation.
Yeah, because she's like, I've been like on my bloody feet for years, and maybe this time,
you know,
like,
it's not I Dreamed a Dream from Les Mis, you know. It's like it's basically like, you know, like at that point, I think you know, she's had the abortion, I'm pretty sure.
Oh yeah, what a dick move. Jesus, at least talk to your partner before you do that.
That's what I mean. It's absolutely awful. Like, everything that happens in this film is just like, it's just...
And also, like, she's not a good person. You could argue that none of them are.
No, she's not.
Like,
she's not. No, I don't think any of them are. But like, yeah, she's not a good person at all.
Jeez.
The way, again, she justifies her behavior and the way she says, I'm just gonna like, you know, because the song is Maybe This Time. And I remember, I always think with that song that there's so much rich kind of stuff that's going on in that song for like, to act, I think, that's just like... Oh, and Liza does it so well, but like I think other performers do it really well, is that there's always like a breaking point that could happen in that song, but it never really does, you know? And that obviously leads into the final song of the film, which is Cabaret, you know?
La Fizz a Cab. It's so good. Like, all of it's good. Dude. Like,
It's great.
It's great. It's like they said, let's write like 20 songs for this musical and pick like the best 6 and then put them in.
Yeah.
And that's what they got. I love the money song. Like, it's also good. Like, and you know what? I think what also helps is that the actual cabaret itself is really excellent. Like the choreography is really good.
The cabaret, I agree, and it's really like it's not too theatrical. It's kind of as it would have been, you know,
exactly.
at this time.
It's like the guy made the musical for those who don't like musicals. He's like, oh yeah,
That's it, exactly.
it's like it's almost like he tried to cut out the cabaret stuff. He's like, fuck no, we need it for the story, and that's the only reason it's there. So like,
exactly.
it's really excellent. Did you think the German guy Maximilian looked a little bit like Viggo Mortensen?
I did. That didn't clock my mind, but now you say it. Yeah.
I'm like, Viggo, what are you doing in this movie? Like,
Hey, Viggo.
how did
Probably
you get back
is.
here? What did you think about that character?
It's an interesting one, I think, because I think the other thing with this film is there's a lot of differences with the musical, with the stage show, and I think that's one of them. That character and the way it's.
But how do you think it works in this movie? How do you like him in that regard? You know, the temptation of the rich and all that.
I wasn't as taken, I guess, by that subplot as I think it could have worked. I don't know. It was all right. It was fine.
It was very interesting. It was such a weird moment when they were all like getting drunk at his house and they were all dancing together. I'm like, they better have a threesome. I'm like, what's going on here?
I think the climax of that.
It's so weird. It's just like close up shot of the 3 of their heads.
No, but not even that scene. I think the climax of that whole subplot and that whole storyline, which ends with the confrontation between the two.
Yeah. Wait, which 2 are you talking about?
As in like Liza and English Boy.
Ah, yes, that's right. Yeah. What a great scene. Really excellent.
Yeah. So what a line as well when he's like, screw Maximilius, whatever his name is, and she's like, I have, and then he's like, oh, me too. It's
so
like,
weird.
holy shit.
It's like,
You're like,
jeez. And it comes out of nowhere as well. Because at the start of the play where she's like, oh, you don't like girls. He's like, no, I've just had 3 bad relationships. I'm like, really? That's your gauge on not liking women? It's like, come on, move on. Also, what a weird question where she's like, are you gay? It's like, that's such a weird answer to respond to. It's like,
yeah,
just say no or yes or I don't know. It's like... but then later on when he's like, oh, I'm bisexual, I've been like screwing him as well. I'm like, where did this come from? And it's like,
yeah. But it's an interesting moment, that scene.
It's funny how that parallels My Fair Lady, because doesn't like he also fuck off to Argentina or South America or something like that? Remember when like Audrey Hepburn is like, or not My Fair Lady, maybe Breakfast at Tiffany's is what I'm thinking of, because she's like,
I think
it's
that's
Tiffany's.
it. Yeah, that's it.
Because I always get those 2 mixed up. It's like Tiffany's where she's like, oh, South American bloke, and then he fucks off and then he leaves a little note. I'm like, oh, we're doing Tiffany's again.
Where's the cat?
Where's the cat? Exactly. Yeah, you know, it'd be great though. Speaking of My Fair Lady, wouldn't it be so funny if they did the English lessons and it segued into My Fair Lady?
Yeah, that's the prequel. This is the prequel to that.
Oh, jeez. Now that would be great. That's what I wanted.
That's actually that's plausible. Nathan, can we talk about the end of this film and the rise of the Nazis and how the patrons change in this cabaret club? You know
yeah. That's really smart. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really good. It's like, well, it's not good, obviously. It's horrendous that they're there. But it's kind of funny how, like, the Nazis are in the audience.
I wish every club was filled with Nazis.
We need more Nazis in nightclubs. Put that on the DVD. But, like...
Oh, Jesus. Nathan, this might be our last episode, mate. They might close us down. Oh, Jesus.
But it's kind of funny, because, like, you see the one Nazi get booed out of the club at the start. I know, like, a whole poor... They almost do it, like, pantomime style. It's like, there goes the Nazi. It's like a Jojo Rabbit kind of thing. Oh, I'd love to see
totally.
Tyker's Hitler in this. That'd be great. Like, but no, like, yeah, you see them like kind of populate more and more, and it gets to the point where you see English guy like walk past the Nazis and he's like, "Fuck your flyers, you're a bunch of Nazis," and they're like, "Yeah, we know," and then he's like,
"Yes, that we are. Yes,
we are.
You
Nazis,
are correct."
Yes. It's like, how dare you? It's like, and then like it hard cuts to like him in bed, like with like a bruised eye. And like, what were you thinking? Of course you're going to be beaten up. Jesus. Oh,
I remember that hard cut. That was a good hard cut.
It's great. For some reason, it reminds me of just like when I've been at university, and like it's like all the political like parties are like standing in the hallways and they're bloody handing out flyers.
I don't know if that's a fair comparison. But I get your point.
In the sense of me grabbing a flyer and just being like, fuck off. Like, I don't want this right now.
Yeah.
It's like, but I think it went a little bit over the board.
What a time, though. Like, what a time to live in and what a city to live in during that period.
Could you imagine living in Berlin back then? It's like, God. It's crazy. But you know what would annoy me though? I get random idiots like what you see earlier on in the movie. Brenton, imagine if you're on a date and you're having a lovely stroll through Sydney and you're like, oh, you're with this girl and you're like, what a picturesque moment where you're strolling by Darling Harbour. And suddenly as you like near a train station, she's like, wait, and she runs out to it and screams at the top of her lungs. What would you do in that scenario?
I'd ask a few questions, I think.
Yeah, you'd be like, are you okay there? She's like, oh, it's therapy.
And you're like, oh, okay.
She's like, join me. Like, would you do it? Like, on the first date, would you be like, fuck yeah, I'll scream at a train station with you?
I don't know. It depends on my mental state, I guess. Depends on what's going on.
If you're really drunk, you'd be like, yeah. It's like, I saw that in the movie. I'm like, this is a bit odd. So you have to be really pushed to be screaming. Like,
Nathan, I reckon you'd do it in a heartbeat, mate.
Oh, yeah, knowing me, yeah, of course I would. Jesus, I'd do it for any girl. Like, I'd bloody scream at a train station. I would scream at the train as like the doors open. I'd just be screaming the whole train ride home. Like, it'd be great.
You would be forcibly removed from the train. It's gosh, here's this guy again. Get him off.
Oh, no, not again.
Then you're like, hashtag worth it.
Oh, yeah, if it gets me the second date, I'll do anything, mate.
Nathan.
Oh, no.
Nathan.
Oh, no, don't quote me on that.
Oh, gosh.
Stop
Nathan,
it.
This is a weird episode.
You know what's really funny as well? I loved it when, you know what else reminded me of those kind of moments? Was when, the English lesson friend was like hitting on the Jewish chick and they left her house after she gave him a little kiss goodnight, which was a really weird kiss because the dog's there. But like, he got the kiss and he's walking back home with English bloke and he has that conversation that like every man has experienced at like 3 a.m. where you're drunk and like you're walking home and your best friend's like, this girl, she's the one that she's toying with me. You know, that kind of conversation.
What do you mean? Please specify.
You know, like when you're on a night out and it's like 3 a.m, whatever, you're heading home. You've had enough and you've been drinking all night. And like you're walking home to a train station or a bus stop with like your best mate. And like, and you have like this, and you have this drunken chat. And it's normally one of you like entering this diatribe about how you tried to flirt with a girl, but she's being on or off or something like that. You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. Yeah, I do know what you mean.
Brendan's like shuffling his chair backwards like, ugh.
I'm just imagining another 3 a.m. return to home that we had that was very different than that. I mean, like you were much more excited. You were much more excited, and you were running around, and you were showing me different people and different things, and running down the streets. Nathan gave me a lovely tour of the Valley of Brisbane.
Why are you telling this story?
Hey, why not? Why not? I mean, you brought it up. Like, you know, if we're gonna talk about realistic 3 a.m. walking home stories, Nathan did me a full tour of the valley in Brisbane. And was running up to various people on the street and saying, "Look at this person! Isn't it wonderful?" It was like Dorothy first discovering Oz. You know what I mean? And we were going down the yellow brick road, and Nathan was just taken by everything he was seeing, and everything was beautiful. The world was lovely, and he was just having a love. It was Nate. It's a lovely memory. I don't know why are you giving me daggers like and looking at me like for telling me this story. It was you were in full Nathan form, and you were just so optimistic. You were in love with life, with the world, with everyone.
Yeah, I was drunk off my mind, and it was like a kid in his first theme park. I was like, whoa,
exactly,
look at that,
exactly.
Right? And like, and I'd literally walk up to nightclubs and I'd be like, wow, let's look at this one, and I point at the bouncer, and they would always look back at me very upset. They'd be like, please don't come in, sir.
You got a few daggers that night, I will say. I was kind of at the same time. It was very funny and whatnot. But like as a good friend, I realized that I had to step in at some points and be like, "Come on, Nathan! Like, don't run up to random strangers and
I'll be like, look at this one, and to have that done to you at like 3 a.m, where you obviously are tired as well. Like people have none of it. Like, I was just a bloody puppet.
But funnily enough, most people understood. They understood what was going on, and they were happy that you were happy. So that's the main thing.
I'm proud of it. I stand by it, Brent, and I'd do it again. I'd bloody point it all out.
Nathan, speaking of special, Nathan, shall we talk about some special segments?
What a segue. Fine, go for it.
Special segment.
Ooh, so special.
Let's talk about, is this movie worth the remake? Because I'd kind of like to see a reimagining of this film.
I agree. I think you could do a lot with it. And you know, it'd be even more interesting if they said it now. So like, where like, it's not like pre-World War III, but like in the sense of like this rising kind of alt-right agenda kind of spreading throughout.
I don't know if I agree with that. I don't know if it needs to be set now. I think it could still be set at the time. It could be like you mentioned Jojo Rabbit before, and that's still saying stuff today's society. Like,
oh yeah, you can still play with World War II. Like, you can do all that. I just think there's interesting parallels with like the Me Too storyline and the far right.
I just think from a
racism.
technical perspective, it'd be interesting to see a reimagining of this and a remake and see it work. Maybe have Alan Cumming come in again, because this leads us onto our next special segment of casting for future for the future film. Yeah, Cabaret. Obviously, Alan Cumming has to play the Master of Ceremonies. Like, he has to play.
Oh yeah, has he done it on stage?
Yeah, he's done it twice on stage.
Oh, so he would be perfect for it.
He's amazing. But I actually think someone else that did it recently on stage that would be a great choice, speaking of Cruella de Vil, would be Emma Stone as Sally.
Oh yeah, she did do Cabaret. I remember that. Oh yeah, she'd be interesting for it.
I think she'd be an interesting Sally on film.
Yeah, you could give her like the Liza Minelli haircut. Well, but Liza Minelli's still around. It'd be good if she did like a cameo for it. Like,
oh, for sure. Yeah,
who could she
be in
be?
it.
Maybe she could be one of the old people listening to the young Nazis sing at that like country restaurant.
Maybe she just plays Sally again. I don't know.
Oh, they'll have the dual Sally roles. Like, oh, there we go. We brought a full circle. I know. Yeah,
the one that I'm.
Oh, they can get Viggo Mortensen. They can have him for Maximilian because he looks identical.
My other thing is, who would play Brian?
Oh,
I'm thinking English, so I'm thinking like
you want a young English actor? You could Richard Madden it.
Oh, that's an interesting choice.
Richard Madden
that could work.
He did Cinderella.
Hear me out. I actually think Benedict Cumberbatch would be a good choice.
See, I could see him doing Maximilian over.
Oh, see, I could see him doing Brian. I think he'd be a great Brian.
Really? Like that? Like, I'm here to be a professor. It's like, I feel like it's just Sherlock. It like he's too angry. He's too passionate to be a Brian. Brian's just so relaxed. He's like, ooh, like.
Oh, I just think he could add some depth there to that character.
Yeah,
I think it'd be good.
What about just young British actors? We get Tom Holland. And
I like your Richard Madden choice as well. I think that's a good one. I think that's a solid choice.
It can tie into The Bodyguard. Once he resigns from service, he can be like, fuck it, I'm going to be a professor in Berlin.
Sure.
Even though we're now back in the 30s, so it's like, I don't know how this works, but sure.
Sure, mate. Like, bloody 90 years later, here we are.
Here we go. Yeah, but he looks the same. Oh, Hollywood actors, they just don't age. It's great.
They are vampires. You can only be a Hollywood actor if you're a vampire. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Ask Faye Dunaway.
Ask Robert Pattinson. Ooh, Robert Pattinson would be good in this.
Oh, he would be. That's a good choice. There you go.
If I had a cabaret, I would fuck it.
So you're fond of me, lobster?
So you're fond of you're the Jewish girl. She's like, so you're fond of me money.
Oh, that's a great song. Money Makes the World Go Round, by the way.
Really good song. I really loved it as well. Actually, you know what? Can we throw in Willem Dafoe in this? And you know what I want Willem Dafoe to play in this recasting?
Who?
I want him to play one of the two fat chicks who at one point in the cabaret club are covered in mud, having water sprayed at them and wrestling. And I want it to be Willem Dafoe as one of them.
Do you reckon they could do like a close-up on his face and he could do his monologue from the lighthouse when he's like having dirt shoveled into his face?
Absolutely. He's like, Triton was mad ye day. He's like throwing around the cabaret club, and the Masters of Ceremony is just spraying some water bottle at him, and he can be fighting Tobey Maguire, and it can be the Spider-Man sequel we all wanted.
Nathan, we're going off the rails. Speaking of Tobey Maguire and in Marvel, let's talk about if we can MCU this film. And this is a segment where we talk about characters from this film and whether they'd slot in well to the MCU. I think the Master of Ceremonies would make a great Avenger.
What would he do though? Like he would just...
You just go. He's like the equivalent of like a Q, you know, like James Bond's Q. Not the fact that he like makes all the weaponry and stuff. That he's just there as kind of like a little foil when the Avengers come back to base. He comes back and he does a little performance for everyone, you know, and he just comments on the themes of the film or like the themes of the MCU.
Oh,
you know what
amazing.
I mean?
Just like he's like Thanos is going on his monologue about, you know, snapping the universe, and then the Master of Ceremonies is like, overpopulation in our nation. It's just like dancing about like,
sure, man.
I think he'd be great as a distraction. I think like Thanos is about to snap, but then suddenly he's like, the Avengers are beautiful, the villains are beautiful. He's just twirling his little cane. Like, but I would love it if like the whole cast was there. Like the cabaret club was just there as a distraction for the enemies. Like
sure.
Ultron's about to attack, but then like suddenly they're like, sit down, sir, and they pull a chair out of nowhere and they force Ultron to sit and they get him a drink.
I feel like they'd hang out with the Guardians of the Galaxy a lot.
Oh, that'd be great. I feel like for Guardians 3, there would be like a space cabaret that they would go
Absolutely.
to. You know
it's
what I mean?
probably going to happen. We're probably predicting the future right now, Nathan.
James
we're probably
Gunn,
Simpsoning
write
it. You know what I mean?
Do it. Like, be great.
Nathan, you also picked another special segment, which I thought was an interesting choice.
Did these characters learn the true meaning of Christmas, Brenton?
Nathan, no one learned the true meaning of Christmas in this film.
No one learned any fucking lesson in this movie, except for maybe English boy, because he learns to get the fuck out of Berlin.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that's it.
Yeah, exactly.
It kind of would have been great if Christmas was thrown into the movie at some point. You know what I mean?
Yeah, imagine Christmas around that time.
Yeah. Christmas in Europe in general is just wonderful. But like, it'd be funny, like they're all giving gifts, but then, you know, one of them's like, they're looking out the window and the Nazis are walking down the street and they're like, oh no.
Yeah, like, it's like, oh, thank you for another swastika. Thanks for that. Cheers. Like,
oh
great.
no, I don't want that. Like, I think it'd be great.
Oh, Nathan.
Obviously, you know, the Christmas thing, not the swastika thing. Anyway, what stills this movie?
Ooh, it's blinding.
All right, I'll do it. So what stills this? So what stills this movie? One of us has to do this. So what stills this movie is a segment where we choose a frame from the movie. It could be either a beautiful work of art, it could be something stupid, and we freeze frame it and we put it on our Instagram. We put it on the YouTube. Links all below.
This week, Nathan, you chose the still, so I'm gonna that's why I sat back because I thought you were going to explain that, but then I realized I didn't actually introduce the segment.
This just goes to show after 100 fucking episodes how coordinated we are.
Hey, that's why you love us and that's why you listen to us. Please keep listening.
Please keep.
Nathan, what did you pick this week and why did you pick it?
This is in a long time. This might be one of the stupidest things I've seen in a movie. Like, there's a scene where like they're on some, like Liza and English bloke are going on some cute date, but the opening shot is these two these two like mums or maybe nurses because they're in all white.
I don't know. Are they from an orphanage or something and they're like on an outing or something? But they're
know.
all in this kind of. I've never seen a contraption quite like this.
This is
I've never seen something
that's holding like 6 children, but they all looks like age maybe like 5 or something like that.
I reckon as well. I reckon that because the other thing is that most of them have got ice creams and some of them look like they've finished their ice cream.
Yeah.
And I think when they were initially shooting this scene, they didn't have ice cream. I think that they had to give the ice cream to the kids. Keep them happy while they're... Because those kids... Like, look at this kid in the second row that's on the right of the kid with the ice cream. He doesn't look happy.
He hasn't got his ice cream and he's very upset.
Look at that kid in the very back on the right as well. That's like eyeballing the camera. Like,
she's like dead staring the camera. She's clearly looking at the camera as it's going past.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
the other thing that made me think of was, where are these kids today and what are they doing?
they do like a Sound of Music reunion kind of thing. Like after like 7 years, they're like,
yeah, like so they get on the Today Show or something, but they like are all sitting in the pram again, like as adults.
Yeah,
like,
that's how they come onto stage, like they're being pushed.
Exactly.
But
Nathan,
it's so one, the fact that a 6-child pram exists, but 2, why is this in the movie? Because all it does is just establish a panning shot that we're in the park, and then it's just like those two chatting on a date.
Maybe there was a company that made this pram, and they were actually sponsoring the film.
Jesus,
and its product placement.
It hasn't even got a brand on it. It's
Nathan.
so stupid. Like, why is this here? Could you imagine walking down the park and seeing that shit? You're like, dear Lord.
I love that it takes the 2 women to like push this thing as well. They're both like it looks like one's just assisting because something could go wrong very quickly.
I reckon that originally in the shot they had the one woman and they did the first take and she's like struggling to push this shit.
I reckon something might have gone wrong. So something might have gone wrong. They might have accidentally pushed the kiddies down the hill and to make the kids happy, they bought them all ice cream and they brought the second person in.
Just some other extra. They're like, I really want to find the B-roll for this movie and just see like this out of control pram just fucking, because you see the river behind them, it just hurls straight for the water.
Nathan, let's do that one day. Let's begin the search. This is day 1 of the search for the Cabaret B-roll.
Here we go. Yeah.
Nathan, on that note,
hey,
let's
look at this film's poster.
Brenton,
yes,
let's look at this film's poster.
but is it art?
Whoa, what a poster, Brenton.
This is a classy poster. This is a
very
classy act.
classy.
So we have Cabaret that is tilted on a 90-degree angle, so it's on its right. It's going Cabaret from the bottom to the top. And Liza Minelli is sitting on the T at the top in her Cabaret outfit, and she has got a bowler hat on, and she's flinging her arm to the side, and it's life is a cabaret. Old chum, you know, so it's very lively, it's very theatrical, and I think this is a great poster.
It's a really good poster. It's plain, it's simple, the lighting's great, the color's great.
Yep.
I know how I feel about the text being like at 90 degrees as well. Like I can't read any of that shit, so
I like it. I think it's a great poster. I think this is a classic poster.
yeah, I wouldn't improve it. I think it'd be really, really great.
This is perfect.
The easiest segment we've done. It's like, don't touch it.
Well, that brings us on to the title talk.
What was the title?
Cabaret. Was there cabaret in Cabaret?
You know what? There was some cabaret in Cabaret, Brenton, and it was bloody good.
Hey,
Yeah.
I'm glad this film's called Cabaret.
It's really good. I'm now keen to see some more cabaret, you know? Like, it'd be good. I feel like it'd be really fun, like taking a date to a cabaret club. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know. Haven't tried it yet, so I'll keep you updated when me and my date go to the Cabaret Club. You know what I mean?
Is there cabaret in Sydney? There must be somewhere. Well, are you kidding me? There's definitely cabaret in Sydney.
Of course there's Cabaret in Sydney. What are you talking about, Nathan?
There's cabaret on every street in Sydney. I think it'd be a really fun date. Like, it'd be great. And you know what? You can scream at trains at the end of it.
So, lady listeners, just letting you know that Nathan is looking for a date to take to a Cabaret Club. If you'd like to join him, please send us messages on our Twitter, on our Instagram, on our email. You know where to find us, on the YouTube comments.
Tell me which cabaret club in Sydney.
Is a Cabaret Club a good place, an ideal place for a date?
You get some fun ones. It's like when you see stand-up comedy for a date. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's
totally.
It's like that
I think
kind
that's
of thing.
fun.
Which, by the way, is really good for a date. If you're ever looking for date ideas, write in your emails. Just ask for date ideas. We're here.
What if you take a date though, and the cabaret or the stand-up comic, basically you realize very quickly that you don't have the same sense of humor as your date?
Oh yeah, that'd be so funny. Like, it's like going to a cabaret show, then afterwards your partner's like, okay, start dancing. Like, go on. let's see you do it now.
Or like, you know, you go to a stand-up comic and like they tell a funny joke and you're laughing your head off and the audience is laughing your head off, and then you turn to your date to be like, oh, wasn't that funny? And they're just like stone-faced and they're like, can we please leave?
That would be pretty good.
Bum bum.
Oh no, we struck out.
Speaking of bum bum, should we look at some power and passing that power to the people?
Oh, of course.
Pass it here.
What?
The power to the people.
So the critical... messed
Do
that
it
up.
again.
Let's
Do
try
it again. He's gonna say it again.
Here we go. So if you look...
Here we go. Critical consensus.
If you look at the critical consensus on the Rotten Tomato meter, you'll see it's sitting at a 95%, which is pretty high. That's pretty good.
Oof. Fresh tomatoes.
Oh, fresh tomato. Put it in the spaghetti. And it's got an audience score of 87%.
Whoa.
With that little popcorn emoji, and we'll put that in the spaghetti as well. So it's all good all around. Yeah.
Jesus.
Tomatoes and spaghetti and popcorn. Oof. That's what I eat for dinner.
Oh, Brenton, it's weird you've brought it to my home. don't take it out now, Brenton. Now's not the time
Nathan.
to eat.
Come on, here comes the choo-choo train.
Moving on. They liked it. And they said flashy musical numbers go a long way to disguise the bitterness of this pill. They're not wrong.
That's a good sentence.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah. It does mask the tone. I wish other musicals did this, you know?
Oh, yeah. You know, I feel like I like this because it's subtle. It's subtle in its messaging. Like it knows when to not be subtle as well, I should say.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because it's blatant at points, but for the most part, I like that everything has a purpose, you know, in this story, and I like that.
In life, you know, everything has a purpose.
Yeah. Such as Christopher Noll, he's got a purpose from filmcritic.com. Fosse's look at pre-Nazi Germany is pretty uneven and uninspired. His work is far better when we're inside the Kit Kat Club, where there's singing and dancing to be had. Christopher Noll just likes that singing and dancing. I reckon he's been on a few dates to the cabaret clubs. You know what I mean?
He's been there before. Here we go.
Look at that profile pic. He thinks that life's a cabaret.
He's the most like flat face I've seen in my life.
Has he got a soul patch as well?
I don't know.
Yeah, he does.
I think
he does. He's got a lot of soul. He's got a lot of soul.
To be honest, it's one of the rare musicals where like I genuinely wouldn't prefer either the numbers or the story. Like they really do complement each other quite well.
I agree.
Oh.
What are you on about, Christopher Noll?
Yeah.
Christopher?
Why don't you do this too, West Side Story? Or Cats.
Or just watch Romeo and Juliet. Like if you're gonna honestly, if you're gonna watch West Side Story, I get it. But, I don't get it at the same time. Shakespeare did it better, you know, so just watch that. It's a good time.
That'd make a good t-shirt. Shakespeare did it better.
Yeah, because he did.
He did everything better, including Ted P., who gave it 4 stars and wrote an interesting comment on the public face of the ugly truth of Nazism.
An interesting comment on the public face of the ugly truth of Nazism. That's a weird sentence. Don't you reckon?
Yeah. But, to be honest with you, I don't think it says anything that insightful about Nazism. I feel like it's just like, oh, they're there.
It's using the backdrop and it's got its message, it's got its agenda, but it's using that message and how it affects people on a personal level. You know what I mean? That's what's interesting about it.
Yeah. Just like, how does this personally affect me? You know, being surrounded by Nazis. Like,
I wonder how it personally affects Alex Kay, who gave this film 2 stars. And said, 1972's The Godfather is my 4th favourite film of all time. Mate, like, honestly, we're here to talk about fucking Cabaret, okay?
I think he's
we're not
bitter.
here to talk about The Godfather. We're here to talk about Cabaret.
The Godfather.
Okay?
But like,
Godfather won the Best Picture, okay?
it did win Best Picture. But you know what's really funny? Like, it is interesting these both came out in the year. And it's funny because we've also reviewed both these on the podcast. Now both
You have,
Cabaret
yeah.
and Godfather. And like, which one do you prefer, Brenton? Which one would you put on?
I'd put on Cabaret over
Same.
The Godfather. I got to stop calling it Cabaret, but I'm really enjoying it too much. It's so stupid.
G'day, mate. Have you seen the Cabaret lately? Oh yeah, it's a good show.
Maybe we do it with like a C that's like an S. Like have you seen the Sabaret?
Oh Christ. Greg Saleko on YouTube wrote, as Liza has this chair, Gene Kelly has an umbrella, and Fred Astaire has his vertically resolving room.
Greg, what are you getting at, mate? Like, you're just making like here's icons and here's their iconic moments in film.
But I get it. Like Liza with the chair with the chair is like an iconic image. Like,
It is.
it's
Yeah,
great.
but
you know, I wish I could dance like that on a chair. I tell you what.
good on you, Greg. Good on you for that insightful comment. Jojo Kelly said, to think this is Dorothy's daughter, ellipsis.
Is that continuity? Is it like after Roz, this is Dorothy's daughter?
Yes.
Actually, you know what?
I was going to say.
Timeline-wise, it could work. It could like line up because doesn't Dorothy go to Oz like in the 1920s or something like that, or 10s?
Yeah, I think so.
It's early 20th, isn't it? That she goes to
Yeah.
Oz. Maybe even late
I think so.
19th century. Like,
This could work.
oh, yeah, like timeline. I think it could match up.
Maybe Dorothy had a daughter that was named Sally, and Dorothy started telling Sally about all this fucking shit that went on in Oz, and Sally realized that her mum was clinically insane and decided to leave and go to Germany.
After the events of Return to Oz, she's like, "Nah, fuck this. I'm out of
Fuck
here.
that. I'm out.
Off to Germany." And she's in Germany. She's like, "Oh no."
Oh, Nathan. That was Sabarets, and we had a great time reviewing it.
Oh god. Now we've both got Sabarets. Help.
Help, please. Guys, thank you so much for listening for another episode of Classic Movie Banter. You can obviously find us on SoundCloud. You can find us on Spotify. You can find us on Apple Podcasts. You can even find us on the YouTubes. But guys, the most important thing is that you can also communicate with us on YouTube. You can find us on Instagram where we post our stills and our posters and other fun shit. Well, you can also finally find us on Twitter.
Can we make that our Instagram caption? You know, you can have a bio caption. Can you just write like all that fun shit for us?
Yeah,
Like,
I reckon.
oh wow, it's that page of all that fun shit.
I reckon I'm gonna add that to our opening crawl as well.
It's great. Can someone please write a review from us on the podcast apps saying they just go all that fun shit?
Nathan, thank you so much for joining me on another episode. It's always a
thank
pleasure.
you, Brenton. It's always good to have you here.
Okay, now that's been said, because we have to say it, kind of, because otherwise, yeah, you know. We're going to get going, and we're going to go take 2 dates to see Sabaret, and then we'll go to a comedy club as well.
A double date at a cabaret club. What could possibly go wrong?
And Nathan is not going to take me on a tour of the valley.
But Brenton, look at this one. It's a Nazi.
Oh, gosh. Guys, I'm so sorry.